astrology behind feeling like you're falling behind in life. What is this all about? If there is one thing that I hear so many times, if I could have $1 every time I hear that, this feeling that we have about feeling that we are falling behind in life is something that I find so deeply complex. Complex is not the word I'm looking for. I find it very fascinating because this is something that so many of us feel at some point of life. Whether you're actually feeling this right now, because let's be honest, you might have clicked this episode today because this is something that you relate to, right? And I wanted to give another perspective on the matter of why we might feel this way. Again, there could be countless reasons why, right? This is not going to be an exhaustive list because, again, we could be here all day, but I want this is part of a series that I'm doing now. I'm excited about doing, actually, where we are keeping the episodes short and sweet, but more like as a diagnostic style. I want to take astrology to show people how astrology can actually, be used in real life to answer real problems and questions that you are actually going through right now. It's not just about, some so too many people see astrology as those fortune cookies that are just saying random stuff. It's not random at all. The astrology is as specific as it gets, and this is what happens every time I open your birth chart, my client's birth chart. It's just fascinating because it is unique to you. So when you come to me and you ask, Stephanie, why do I feel like I'm falling behind in life? Oh my goodness, there is often a million reasons in your chart screaming at me. This is why I always find that the sessions are like, there's not enough time to talk about everything in a session because there is so many things in there. So if that is something that you are struggling with, know that you're not alone. You don't have to go through this alone. My booking link is down below. We could have a private session so we can analyze your own personal chart and see what else is going through there, what you are experiencing right now. On that note, today I wanted to talk about it from a very specific angle, and that is if you are, I goodness, there's so many reasons. That's why I had to write it down here because I don't want to digress into a 45-minute video, and this is this is very easy for me to do. So we are gonna focus on Saturn return. Saturn return is heavy. I don't think I can just the word Saturn triggers so many things in people. Now, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. Okay, my love? Just don't take this personally, but we have such a fear of Saturn. It is insane. Personally, I'm going to share something here, a little disclaimer. I actually love Saturn. Maybe I might be biased. Saturn is my chart ruler. I'm just not really feeling the whole Saturn fear that people have. I think Saturn is so absolutely sexy. At the same time, by the way, I understand why people are scared of Saturn, but for disclaimers, for sake of disclaimer, I'd say my beef would be mostly with Pluto. But Saturn, we're good. I like Saturn. Now, if you're doing astrology and you're wondering what is all the fuss about, what is Saturn about? Saturn is, I like to call Saturn Mr. Miyagi. Saturn is that teacher that comes and is not playing around. Saturn is often referred to as the IRS of the zodiac, of astrology. Well, IRS doesn't really bring the best of energy, the best of feelings for people, but it's more like that person that is here to set things straight, right? Saturn doesn't do shortcuts. You want results, you want blessings, but have you worked for it, right? Saturn is pretty much the bouncer that doesn't let you in the club if you underage. No one should do that. But sometimes people could tell your ID was fake, but then they would still let you in. Oh my God. Where is this example coming from? Might be from, personal, or maybe friend of a friend, not me, of course not. But Saturn is that person that does things in order by the book. Now, of course, we don't like people who are just too rigid. But what I'm saying is Saturn is here for our growth, right? Saturn is the chart stabilizer, where you have Jupiter that's going to come here and throw in, like, go big or go home and great opportunities, but a lot of these opportunities can show up really fast and also disappear really fast, just as quickly. Like, when you take another planet like Jupiter, it could have this go big and go home and then crash and burn, right? Saturn is very important because Saturn is the stabilizer. So let's say Saturn is so important in everything. When, for example, let's say someone is looking for like a soulmate and want to know what is the best like astrological window, best time opportunity for them to actually be, open to like soulmate, more like of a long term serious relationship. And this is where Saturn is gonna be a great indicator in their chart. We're gonna check about various Saturn transits that are happening, other Saturn aspects that are happening in their chart. And because Saturn is what stabilizes a lot of the things in the chart. So whenever you have an example of that is Saturn in the seventh house, it's anyways. I'm digressing right now, but I want people to understand that Saturn is not necessarily the bad guy here. Saturn is there. Saturn is what's our best. It's just Saturn understand that life has certain rules in it, and you cannot build anything on a flimsy foundation. Everything in life that is worth building requires time, effort, energy. There is no shortcutting this. I know we all like to hear and we all see in social media or on the internet how so and so, such and such was an overnight, what's the term they say? An overnight success. But we all know that those so-called overnight success are never truly overnight success, right? Or in the rare cases that they actually happen to be overnight success, like these people who win the lottery, what happens after that? It always crash and burn. 99.99% of the time. How many times have we heard stories of people winning $100 million, and then they track them, a few years down the road to find out what they did with all the money, and then the money just gone, disappeared. They just totally, like, didn't know money management skill, and it's gone. And you're like, how did $100 million disappear like that? Well, that's because that person didn't have the vessel to hold that money. It doesn't matter if it's $5, $20, $100 million. Trust me, it's so easy to just like spend $100 million. Just like, especially like people are buying yachts and people are doing this and that. It's not, I know when we don't have it, it seems like a great amount of money. But the point is, you need to have a vessel for anything. Well, that's it. I don't know if someone like Jeff Bezos could ever, like scramble through the entire money like that overnight, because these people are literally printing like crazy amount of money by the second. Anyways, thinking out loud here. So my point is, we need to have the vessel for whatever we're trying to hold, right? And this is what Saturn does. Saturn helps us create that vessel, and that's also something that we learn in Kabbalah a lot. Like any blessings you're gonna have, you need to have the vessel, and that's also the purpose of things that we're going through in life. It's to give us a thick skin for us to grow through them, so we can grow our capacity to hold more, to grow our vessel. Everything I do always comes back to spirituality. It doesn't even matter what astrology video I'm trying to do, it all comes back down to spirituality, because everything is linked together. So this is one thing that we can look at, right? Let's say you feel like you falling behind in life. Honestly, if you need help again, you don't have to go through life alone. We're not meant to go through life alone. All my booking links are down below so you can book a session with me. I actually recently revamped all of my link, and we could have like a private one-on-one Zoom live. By the way, I love seeing you privately, personally on one-on-one Zoom. It's one of my absolute favorite things to do. Anyways, so where was I? We're talking about Saturn. So I'm trying to make you understand that Saturn is the the magic man that's making all of your dreams come true. It's just that we don't like its methods because it's through hard work. It's through putting the time, putting the rep. So what happens is when Saturn is, when you're going through Saturn return, which is pretty much Saturn, when in your natal chart, Saturn, we all have very specific position that each planet is located in. The natal chart is literally when you were born, it's a screenshot of the sky. So Saturn has a very specific position there, like your natal Saturn. And Saturn takes about roughly 29 years, give and take, because again, yeah. So we tend to like agree on 29-ish years, right? So Saturn takes about 29 years to go through to circle the whole thing and comes back to the same initial position. And when Saturn comes back, this is when Saturn is like, all right, we need to talk. What did you do? And this is where Saturn comes to clean up the house and then forces you to, be more responsible, throws things at you. Saturn is like, the parents that come back home after, the kids had like a party and they're like, what happened in this house? And it's time to like clean things up, right? Saturn is like, you get it. So this is why we don't like it, because again, it's like that kid that doesn't like to eat the vegetables, and but the parents know that they can't let the kid eat McDonald's all day long because it's not good for them, right? So, but at the end of the day, it's tough love, but it's good for you. So that's Saturn. So this is a major, if you're going through like a Saturn return, it might create this feeling that you're falling behind in life, because all of a sudden you feel that pressure, you feel this comparison, and also there's always a delay. With Saturn, there's always a delay. It's just Saturn is not about instant gratification. However, this is why things stick. Like everything that is worth having in life takes time, and this is Saturn knows that. Saturn, this is, oh, I'm getting goosebumps. And Saturn is the master reinforcer of that. So this could be a major, like even if you're not going through Saturn return, if you, let's say you book a session with me and you're like, Stephanie, I feel like, I'm falling behind in life, I will always pay extra attention to Saturn. Where is Saturn at? Because Saturn is going to create that friction, regardless of whatever house it's transiting in. I mean, wherever the transit is falling, what house is a Saturn transit is falling into for you, it's going to create that friction, because again, it's here to challenge the status quo, right? So Saturn is always going to give us a lot of answers as to why you are feeling this way. And then again, we don't just look why you're feeling this way. We also talk about how to actually get past that stage and what the lesson is there for you to learn. This is a very highly individual thing, because we're not here on the same path. We're not all here. Actually, I recorded an episode on that, about how each of our soul is here on a different mission, right? Which is why we have to be careful not to compare ourselves with others. So Saturn cycles will definitely help explain, help us, give us great clarity. And also, we're gonna stop it there because I could go on and on and on. On that note, once again, all the booking links are down below. My love, if you wanted to, if you feel like you're ready to book like your own session with me and keep shining bright like a diamond, I'm so excited about this. I'm calling it diagnostic astrology, and like more like smaller bite size, where we are using astrology to break down a lot of the hard emotions and hard challenges and dark period that you might be experiencing in your life. On that note, keep shining bright like a diamond, my love. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.